Welcome to the Work Hard, Play Hard, and Give Back, a real estate podcast. I'm Mike Litzner, broker owner of Coldwell Banker American Homes. And I'm here today with Barbara Mullaney of the Barbara Mullaney team, along with Katy Myers, I got the married name, and Peggy Elliott, Barbara's daughters and team members as well. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
We're happy to be here.
All right. Are you really? Come on. You don't know what questions I'm asking. We're going to find out real quickly. So before we jump in, I just want to remind our audience, please, if you like what you're seeing here, like, subscribe, join our future episodes that are coming up, and remember to stay for the end for the drop the mic question. We always have a drop the mic question at the end, which is meant to catch you a little off guard, so hopefully I'll have a little fun with that. All right, so let's start with the first question here. Barbara, let me start with you as the team lead. So first, let me say how happy we are to have you back as part of the family after, certainly after having a short stint of studying abroad at a different company. So tell us a little bit more about your real estate journey.
Well, my real estate journey started in, I believe, 2002. Okay. I was a single mom with these two girls, and I was waitressing and bartending, but I felt like I really needed to do a little more for myself, to educate myself, do a little something different. So I felt that real estate was perfect for me because, I could be home with the kids. It gave me a flexible schedule, all that good stuff. So I basically decided that I was going to take the real estate class at Long Beach High School. And my instructor was a gentleman named Dan Ryan and Don Dan Wallace.
Yes.
You recognize that name.
Yes, I do.
So they were terrific. I made a lot of good friends, put myself out there, passed the test, passed the course, all that good stuff. And I ended up working for Ryan and Wallace because I just had a lot of respect for him. I learned so much, and it was in Long Beach.
Yeah.
At the time, Ryan and Wallace was the number one broker. It was a mom and pop, and I thought that was a great place for me to be. So I worked there for about a year, and I decided that, you know what, I can't do this. I went to my manager. I was going to quit real estate.
Wow.
And I went to Dan's wife, Kate, who is our manager, and I said, Kate, it's brutal out there. I'm not that kind of person. I can't do this. And she said, Barbara, I promise you. She goes, you can be a good, honest professional and succeed in this business.
And she was right.
So Katy is the reason that I'm sitting here today.
Yeah.
So anyway, it took me a couple of years to make some money.
Yeah.
So slowly but surely, I gave up some shifts, waitressing and bartending, and started doing real estate full time.
Yeah.
So
that transition time is like a little tricky in the beginning, isn't it? So you're trying to juggle the regular job until you can get your pipeline up and going. And I think a lot of people who aren't in real estate don't understand that. Being a commission job, it's exciting because you control your own destination. But if you have those swales in between, it can...
No, it's tough. I mean, I was a single mom, supporting my, my family. But I was lucky because I was bartending and waitressing, which allowed me to do real estate during the day and then make my money at night. So, but it was just such a great feeling. Probably 3 or 4 years in, I was able to drop a shift here, drop a shift there. And I remember my first paycheck, my first real end of the year, I went to Dan. I said, is this right? I made, I think, $45,000. I was like, woo! So that was really the beginning. And throughout my career, I've worked for a couple of different agencies in Long Beach, but Century 21 American Homes
we know who they are.
It really was my first real home because I remember Dan Ryan came and recruited me again.
Yeah.
And, I was with you guys for, 12 years. And I went to study abroad for a little bit, and I found that just wasn't for me, that I needed to be home. Yeah. And now I'm back at Coldwell Banker American Homes. Yeah. And I could not be happier.
Well, we share your happiness, and I'd like to say company culture is not overrated. It's important that you love the place you work, and when you have the right people there, that culture is actually easy, and everyone loves you guys. You guys have such a great reputation. So when agents in the Long Beach office found that you were coming back, I can't tell you how happy everyone was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think we were a little nervous. We were like how we would be received again, but we were excited.
Everybody welcomed us with open arms.
Yeah.
It was really,
which is
felt
great.
good.
I tell everybody, it sounds corny, but it really felt like a warm hug coming back.
Yeah.
And I mean that.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, Tom, yourself and Tom have such a wonderful culture, and it's really the culture that I've created within my team.
Yes.
Especially going back to Katy Ryan when I was going to quit. I need a safe place. My workplace has to be safe. It has to be comfortable, because we deal in a very stressful environment, and we need to have an environment where we feel comfortable. Everybody works together.
Supportive.
Because real estate can be a little cutthroat.
Yeah.
But our company is not like that.
No, we wouldn't tolerate it. So, no, good. So, tell me about the advent of Barbara Mullaney, the agent, to the Barbara Mullaney team. What year did that happen, and what made the pivot in your brain to start to switch to the team model in real estate?
It actually happened in 2016. I started doing really well, which was so exciting. But I'm the kind of person, especially when you start to get listings, you get tons of leads, and, you become very busy.
Yeah.
And it was getting to a point where I physically couldn't get back to everybody.
Yeah.
And it drives me crazy. So, I was giving out leads to people and things like that, but I realized that I need help. So one night, I was having some wine.
Wine?
With
you drink wine?
Mary O'Donnell, who was a very, very dear friend of mine forever. And, she's always was uplifting and coaching me, to do well in real estate and whatnot. And I asked her if she wanted to be my assistant.
A wonderful spirit, if I may add.
I asked her if she wanted to be my assistant, and she said yes. Okay. So we had our wine, and we laughed, we cried. We had a great time that night. And the next morning I called her. I'm like, so are you ready? And she's like, ready for what?
That was just the wine talking.
I said I was serious. So that's really where it began. She was my assistant. Okay. And then I brought Tracy Johnson.
Yeah.
Who is Long Beach native, yes. So, and she's one of my dear friends as well. So she came aboard, and then I think Peggy came on.
Yep, early 2017.
Early 2017. Okay. Then I brought my daughter on, which was so exciting. And then Mary decided she wanted to do a little more real estate.
Yeah.
Instead of just being my assistant. So we kind of kicked her to the curb, which she always says. And Katy came aboard.
I swear.
So then Katy became my assistant, and who else we got? Who else do we have?
So we've grown, we've fluctuated, but the team kind of kept growing, and I evolved. I originally was part-time as her assistant, and then we just needed more help. I think just handling the team in general. So I was also the team manager. So I've been doing that since 2018. But now we're a team of 8 women.
Yeah. And just for our audience, to give them contrast, a lot of people are like, I'm number one, I'm the best. But in all essence, I mean, the Barbara Mullaney team is one of the top producing teams in real estate in the entire, Long Island board, I'm going to say. So kudos for you for not only sticking with it, because, again, not everyone has an easy path, and we're listening to yours, but it's having the drive and determination to push through the challenges to get to a better place and stuff.
And also too, it's you're having the right people, the same work ethic.
Yeah.
The same ethics.
All right, good.
Yeah.
So before our audience, let's talk a little bit about the dynamic. Katy kind of manages the team right now, but obviously you're a license. So from day to day, what does managing the Barbara Mullaney team look like for you?
As her team manager, so I'm, I'm always checking in with the girls. At one point, I offered, kind of coaching with them, checking in with their business, helping them see their pipeline.
Yeah.
And just really however, Barb or myself, we could just be of more support, just like the company is for any agent. So
also you take care of all the advertising.
Yeah, the advertising and the branding, the marketing. We try every year to meet to what's our vision for the year. So it's a lot of different things, and I think that's what I love about the job. It's it's so many different aspects. Sometimes I'm in the office all day, or other days, we're out and about doing things.
Yeah.
So it's a fun business to be a part of.
I think the key word you just said there is business. People think it's like, oh, I got a job, I'm a real estate agent. It's not. You have an opportunity to build a business.
Yes.
So you're in business for yourself, not necessarily by yourself. Obviously, the broker brings the office and equipment and licensing and obviously company culture or some other things to the table. But it's really your business, and
at the end of the day, it's your own company.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's what's so nice about the team is we really help each other to everyone has their different approach to their own business, and we try to help each other to get new business, and everyone's going to have a different approach, but we just try to really support everyone and set them up for success.
So would you say your transition into more of the sales, being part of the sales team is more complete now that you have the assistant trained? Is the assistant
definitely. It definitely frees up a lot of time. Working
This
for
way
her
I
is
can
a
take
lot
her
of
off the
work.
payroll.
And put her in production, which means
Yes.
so you become from a liability side to an asset. That's a
I
good
know.
side to be on. You like to be on the asset side.
But I feel like working, side by side with her day in and day out, I've learned just so much, and I clearly see and I know what it takes to be very successful in industry. So just putting all that to work in my own way.
Front row seat to the best in the business. So
absolutely.
it's
And
awesome.
also too, and having my daughters, obviously, each person on the team has their strengths and weaknesses, and that's why it's great because we all help each other. Peggy is someone who I know when she's taking care of something, I don't have to think about it. She's on the ball. She's actually helped me a lot and given me a lot of confidence. Where sometimes I'll hem and haw about something. Sorry, my girls always make fun of my sayings.
It's been a thing as she's gotten older. We're like, what does that mean? And new ones come about.
Yeah, right. But we're very young and relevant. Come on.
But she's my go-to as well, and she's given me a lot of confidence. So a lot of times I'll go to her for advice.
There you go.
So it's just different personalities, how you handle things. Sometimes I'll hold on to things, and she's like, "Ma." So a lot of times I want to try to be more like Peg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Well, Peggy, since we're here, let's hear from Peggy. So tell our audience a little bit about the role that you play on the team.
Yeah, so I've just been an agent since early 2017.
Yeah.
I grew up in the restaurant business, so I was always running around, and I honestly had no idea really what I wanted to do. And watching Mom kill her business, I was like, you know what, I think I could make this work. So and obviously I love the flexibility, so I was very happy that Mom even wanted me on the team to begin with.
It was a tough interview.
But it's been a really great experience. I really do love working with them. We get along so well.
Do you find it's a bigger sense of obligation because it's your mom's team, or does it give you more flexibility? Come on, we want to know. She kind of
weird,
rule with an iron fist. Oh, come on.
No, she does.
People want to know. The audience wants to know.
You want the dirt. Yeah.
No, I mean, truthfully, I worked with my dad in the restaurant business for 5 years. I worked with her for many years at Cabana. Yeah. So we've always worked together.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of it just fit.
It's interesting. They say restaurant, bartending, it's service businesses. Mm-hmm. They say people who are successful in the service industry translates over very effectively into real estate because ultimately people think we're salespeople. We're not. We're service people. We paid a lot of money to help people.
Yeah.
So when that light goes on, that approach comes in, the success of that agent seems to jump up.
Because it's relationships.
Yes.
When you're working in the restaurant business, same place, you build relationships with your customers. Yeah. Some of you have your regular customers. Mm-hmm. So you build friendships, you build relationships, and it's the same thing. You can be transactional, or you could have, go the relationship route. Yeah. And that's how we all deal with our business. You're not just a transaction to us. Yes. You're a person. Yeah. You're a relationship. Yeah. So I
would be surprised if you answer this any different than, would you consider yourself the the referrals the biggest source of your business? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, when
that's
we
the
just
philosophy. I can see from the philosophy you're sharing that.
Yeah. So it's funny, like I'm not your traditional realtor. You know, you're supposed to knock on doors, you're supposed to cold call. That's just not who I am.
Right.
Which I probably could have become very good at it.
Right.
But it was kind of like a fear thing.
Okay.
So I have obviously become, successful in my career, but it took me a lot longer than that it would have taken somebody else.
Right,
Because, literally I built my entire business on referrals.
Yeah.
So, the first couple of years, all you do is rentals, but then those renters turn into buyers.
Yes.
And then those buyers turn into sellers, and then it just continues on. So, that's why I feel badly when I like, well, how did you do it? I'm like, all referrals. But a newer agent, I would say, listen, you should cold call.
Yeah.
You should knock on doors. But you'll get a lot, you'll catapult your business a little faster, or
Right.
you'll be more successful more fast.
Yeah. But I think one of the secret things, though, that you kind of gloss over is I can guarantee you when you speak to somebody, you're an excellent communicator. Your follow-up is probably spot on, right? Mm-hmm. So, you say, well, I wasn't really traditional, but you know what? The fundamentals are important. And it's interesting from my vantage point. There's a lot of agents that watch our shows, and you hear different sayings. So here's one of your sayings, but it's a real estate one. But buyers are liars, right? And, there's no loyalty in this business, right? And yet, you just stated for our audience about how, as one of the most successful team, builds its success on loyalty and referrals. So I always say referrals happen by design, not by accident. You just have to earn it.
Yes.
So that comes from an internal focus on the consumer and the consumer experience. So there is the light bulb that goes off. I know that's there, and I always hear great things about you. So I have a little insight for our audience on or our vantage point, so to speak. So let me pivot a little bit to Long Beach, because you guys are in a really interesting marketplace. So yes, we're New York State licensed. Yes, we can sell anywhere, but a tremendous part of your business is foundationally in the Long Beach community. And so Long Beach, for our audience who people don't know, it's a city, right? So it's not just a town, it's a city by itself, where a lot of the towns out here maybe have 12, 13,000 houses. If I understand correctly, and you can correct me on this, but I think there's 40,000 units in Long Beach itself. Of course, you got Lido and Point Lookout. And
we're
West
a big
End.
little city.
Yeah. Atlantic Beach, right? So it's a barrier island, right?
Yes.
And it's a beach. We have the boardwalk. Why don't you share a little bit about, so let me step back one second. Katy, Peg, you guys both grew up in Long Beach. You've always been down there?
Yeah, so we moved down here. I was 6, Katy was 3, and yeah, we haven't left.
97.
Okay, all right.
And we're settled here,
Ourselves.
both with our husbands. We're not
So we're
leaving.
all 15 minutes apart.
Wow.
Yeah.
You
Little
can walk to each
togetherness.
other's houses.
Yeah.
So tell our audience a little bit more about the Long Beach marketplace. What could if someone was looking, what would they find there?
Well, Long Beach is really, really unique. I remember I lived up in by Bear Mountain for about 10 years.
Oh, I didn't realize you were all the way up there.
Yeah. So I grew up in the Bronx, but every summer since I'm born, we went down to Long Beach for the entire summer. So really, it was like my second home. So I was up in Peekskill for about 10 years. I moved back down, and I was like, I will never, ever be more than a block away from the beach again.
Yeah.
So Long Beach really is a special place because you have the beach, you have the bay.
Right.
You are only 50 minutes to Manhattan. You have the Long Island Railroad. But mostly, Long Beach is a feeling.
Yeah.
It really is. Like it sounds a little corny, but you can't help but feel positive. Like you go for a walk on the boardwalk. It's gorgeous.
It's
We
a
were
great
so
vibe.
lucky during COVID just to have so much outdoor space to
Yeah.
To have the
Enjoy.
beach too.
And it's just
Yeah.
a positive vibe. Everyone's running, biking, obviously going to the beach. But also, Long Beach has such a great community. The people,
Yeah.
ridiculous. We're a very close-knit community, and God forbid anything happens, a tragedy in a family or whatever the case may be, Long Beach comes together like I've never seen in my whole life.
Yeah.
So everyone's always supporting each other, and in general, it's a great place. It's a great place to bring your family up. We have the rec center. We have
great shops, great restaurants.
Yeah, the restaurants are unbelievable now.
It seems like when you got the people down in Long Beach, they say they don't like to leave the Barrier Island.
Never.
Yeah.
No.
I know. I can't believe you got us here to Franklin Square.
That's right. We are at it. So
but it's funny. People are like, they don't want to leave. They'll go over the bridge.
You don't really need to, though.
Yeah, we're so self-sufficient.
So that's what's great. Like, we have different areas of Long Beach. We have the west end of Long Beach, and then we have the West Home section, the center of town.
What's the major difference between, say, the West End and,
So basically,
East End, so to speak,
the West End is the most narrow part of our island.
Okay.
So they're all pretty much 30 by 60 lots.
So small lots, yeah.
So it's all, like, that's where all the bungalows were.
Yeah.
But, everything is walking distance in the West End.
Yeah.
And you're more close to the beach and the bay at that point.
Right.
But there's a ton of restaurants. You have your own key food. You have your coffee shops, your restaurants.
Pharmacy.
So it's a whole cute little area. And then once you head out, you go into the West Home area. So the island starts to widen.
Yeah, okay. As you come back to the center.
As you're going east.
Yeah.
And then you have the boardwalk starts on New York, which is the first block of the West End. And then it continues to Neptune. So, you're going to go through the West Home area, which pretty much has delis here and there.
Right.
Some shops. That's where our office is in Long Beach. That's the West Home area.
Okay. See, I'm learning stuff there.
We have our diner, the Laurel Diner. We have our cleaners, all that good stuff. Some cute shops. And then you come to the center of town. That's where the train station is.
Yeah.
And again, you have a whole nother slew of restaurants and shops. And then you cross over Long Beach Road and you enter the East End.
Okay.
And what's nice, though, even in the East End, like the island's getting wider and wider.
Right.
But the East End has their own key food, their own restaurants.
Okay.
Their cleaners, their distributor. So it's very unique.
Are
so
lot
no matter where you
sizes
live in
bigger
Long
on the
Beach,
East End because it's wider than, say, the West End? Because the West End has some small lots. But
I would say the West Home and the East Home is definitely, they have a little more land.
Okay.
Yeah. So like average, I would say, you can get anywhere from, 30 by 100
right.
to, there's some houses, some of the old mansions, they're on 100 by 100 lot.
That's
But
big.
I would say average, it's like 40 by 100 lots, 50 by 100 lots.
Okay. Now, you can get a mixture of housing styles in Long Beach, a little bit different than a lot of the suburban sprawl that we have across Long Island. So
Right.
you want to share a little bit because sometimes you have multifamily condo co-ops.
So, that's true, too. We have so many different types. Well, the housing, the single-family homes, and there's a ton of multifamily homes as well. We have the old style with the terracotta roofs, the Spanish-style homes. We still have some bungalows. But, with Sandy happening, we have a ton of raised homes. And some of them they're ultra-modern. But then you could have a 1920s home right next to it. So you really have a mixture.
Yeah.
But what's unique about Long Beach, you have a lot to choose from.
Right.
I mean, we have, I don't even know how many buildings we have. We have, co-ops, condos. We have a plethora of townhomes.
Yeah.
So really, whatever you're looking for,
You'll probably
Beach has
find.
it.
Yeah.
Really, it does. And our rental market is huge.
Yeah, that's the thing. One of the things I've noticed, and
Peggy's my one of my rental specialists.
yeah. So, how much is rentals overall of your business? Would you say?
A very good amount, probably at least half for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably even a little more.
Yeah, I guess for each individual agent, it all depends on what the main part of your business is, what you're known for, kind of thing. But rentals you can make a great living just on doing rentals.
Yeah.
You're very lucrative.
I mean, I guess I would say all in all with the team, maybe a quarter.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds
I think
about
that
right.
probably sounds.
The one thing I've noticed in most of our markets, you have agents that do sales who don't touch rentals. A couple of them that do a little bit of a hybrid, and there's a couple of rental agents out there.
Right.
Long Beach is that unique marketplace, I think, because the sheer volume of available rentals, and also how much maybe you can touch on the summer rental. That's something you don't see in other parts of the markets, except for maybe when you get out to the Hamptons or something like that. So what does a summer rental look like?
So summer rentals, they've actually gone down a little bit.
Okay.
During COVID, it was insane.
Yeah.
Summer rentals, as long as we also have winter rentals.
Okay.
Which is a funny thing. People are like, well, who the heck wants to come to Long Beach in the winter? But we do quite a good amount of winter rentals because people sell their home, they need something temporary,
right.
or they want to try out Long Beach. Okay. They'll rent it from like September to May.
Yeah.
And it's nice for landlords because they can get the best of both worlds. Mm-hmm. But summer rentals this year is looking pretty positive. You figure a lot of the rentals in the West End, a lot of people would like to rent in the West End because you can walk everywhere.
Yeah.
The buildings on the ocean obviously are super desirable, but people rent all over Long Beach because you're never that far.
Right.
So.
People sometimes have it stuck in their head. They're like, we need to be on the beach side, like south of Park Avenue. I'm like, truthfully, it's not that much of a longer distance to the beach if you're on the bay side. And there's a lot of benefits to being on the bay side of Long Beach, too. Less trouble parking if you don't have parking.
Yeah.
A little more quiet.
Where do you see the shift now? What do you see currently going on in the marketplace?
So what I'm seeing is, number one, the biggest thing that when I talk to my sellers is, when they want to price something, I tell them, you can't overprice your home.
Right.
I'm like, oh, but it's a seller's market. My neighbor tells me we can get $1 gazillion. But, I really try to stress to my sellers, whether it's a buyer's market or it's a seller's market, an overpriced home is an overpriced home,
right.
and it's not going to sell.
Right.
What's happening is you're going to get your best and most qualified buyers in the first week, in the first couple of days, the first open house. And the trick is to, you know how you priced it right away.
Right.
And the trick is to really educate your seller on this is the buyer that you want.
Right. Well, the right pricing strategy, right? That takes advantage
Absolutely.
of the new to market and hopefully creates the bidding war as well. So it's interesting. How many times have you heard someone say, I just want to try it higher, and if they had tried it at a more competitive price, the bidding war would have driven the price up, and they would have got more by asking less.
1,000%. What do we do before we go to a listing presentation?
So we do a comprehensive market analysis. So basically exactly what an appraiser does. So we totally do our homework, finding the comps. And I think a big thing too is not being afraid to kind of have that conversation with the seller and just kind of really be real about it. We always talk about people say it's price versus promotion, but promotion's never an issue. We always have it out there. So I think we just really try to have an honest conversation with our sellers. And we say you put it out there and you test the market, and the market will tell you what it's worth. Yeah. And buyers are so smart these days. Even all my friends, everyone's on Zillow. So, they are ready.
Isn't that a dirty word?
But I know. I know. We don't like Zillow. We try to, steer them away. So, it's about educating them too. What things are actually worth.
Yeah. And also too, when I sit down with a seller, I don't typically just hand them a CMA.
No.
I have the individual. This is just the way I do it. I have individual listings.
Yeah.
And I go through them and I tell them, listen, I don't have a crystal ball.
Right.
I said, my job as your realtor is to give you all the information and to educate you on what exactly is happening in the market. And I tell them at the end of me going through all these, on the market, closed, under contract, both of us are going to talk about it, and you're going to be like, oh, yes, this is where we should land, so that you both agree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, certainly,
you're learning something.
Yes. But so one of the things I think, and again, I'm curious your opinion on this, but if you go to a standard town and they say you should pull comps within a mile radius, same school district / zip code if possible, if you're looking at a Cape in East Meadow, you can find 50 Capes that sold in the last year. All right, but first of all, you're in the West End. A mile radius is going to put you in the ocean or the bay, right? So you don't have that same depth.
That's a great question.
But so how much does a price change from I'm 1 block from the ocean or bay. I'm on the bay or ocean. I have a view of the bay or ocean, as opposed to, I'm on just off the main street. How do you factor that stuff in, and what's the nuance with that for a Long Beach agent?
So everyone wants the beach side. It definitely goes up.
Yeah.
But that's why you have to really know your area.
Right.
Like I said, the West End is the narrowest part. So literally you have the beach side,
Right.
which some people only want the beach side, but it's literally 2 blocks.
Yeah.
So, when you meet an appraiser, you say, listen, obviously it's valued higher because it's on the beach side, but in the West End, it really doesn't make
Right.
that much of a difference. Hey, if you're ocean front or you're
Right.
2 blocks from the ocean, it's going to be a tremendous difference.
So how do you factor in if it's ocean front, or I guess Bayside would be bulkheaded, which is that Reynolds
Well,
Channel?
it's basically how you do it in Long Beach. As I said, the Island Wide End's it's Beach Street in the West in the West End.
Yeah.
So one's Bayside and one's Beachside. It's only 2 blocks.
Right.
And then when you go where the Island widens, in the West Home area, it's either north or south of Park Avenue.
Right.
So, but definitely the beach side gets more value, but it all depends on the home.
Yeah. Okay. So let's throw something a little more serious in.
More serious.
Yeah. We're going to talk
Then you have to
insurance.
ask Peggy anything serious.
Flood insurance. Is that like a bad word in Long Beach for realtors? So,
I mean, everybody
It's just
knows.
reality.
Yeah. It's in the beginning, it was definitely a shock.
Yeah.
But now everyone is always considering, that's everyone's first question. What's the flood insurance?
yeah.
So, everybody's aware
Yes.
that.
Is that
It's
pretty
not a
much
surprise.
standard across the island, or is there certain areas that are higher elevation, or?
Yeah, it's not everywhere it needs flood insurance.
Okay.
But in Long Beach, yes.
Long Beach
It's
itself.
a really funny thing
Yeah.
that, I guess I have to educate myself on the actual zones. But there's one house that we just sold on West Beach Street
Yeah.
that did not need flood insurance.
Interesting.
And all of my 21 years of doing this, I've never had that. It was shocking.
We're what?
No, it really was.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. They
Well,
got
that
flood
particular-
insurance anyway.
But that particular house was a higher elevation.
Yeah.
It is unique.
very higher elevation.
Yeah.
But that was something I learned. You
Yeah.
always learn something.
Okay.
But what's tough with flood insurance, and again, that's where a realtor has to have a lot of knowledge on it.
Yes.
We know it. Is that before Sandy, your house, the elevation, or actually right after Sandy, I should say, the certain elevation of each individual house determined what your flood insurance would be.
Right.
Right? So if you raised your house, your flood insurance was going to be $400 to maybe $800 a year.
Yeah. Nominal.
Ridiculous. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But FEMA changed their guidelines. I forget when. But now it's your proximity to the water. So basically, FEMA wants to get their money back.
Right.
So even if you build an elevated home, your flood insurance is probably going to be $3,000.
Okay.
So it's very tricky. So that's why it's important, when you're selling, for instance, I'm selling a raised home right now. It was
Right.
raised right after Sandy.
Right.
Her flood insurance is $690,
Okay.
and they can take it over. And also, too, a big thing for buyers to know is that you don't shop flood insurance.
Right.
It's the same.
It's set by the federal government, isn't it?
Yeah.
The rates.
So, but people do have an option of getting private flood insurance,
Okay.
which is a lot cheaper.
But if they're getting a mortgage, so is the bank require a certain policy?
Yeah, certain amount of coverage, yes. But you can go with the private flood insurance, which is typically it's half. It's so cheap. So let's say, for instance, if you have a private flood insurance with Lloyd's of London,
Right.
it's not backed by the federal government. It's backed by Lloyd's of London. So God forbid
Right.
they go under,
Right.
then you have no coverage. But you can have private flood insurance, I believe, and get a mortgage.
Okay. All right. So, all right, I want to pivot a little bit back to the team concept a little bit. So, what one piece of good advice would you give an agent who is thinking about, transitioning from a individual business, agent business to a team?
So they're already like an established agent on their own.
And they were considering that maybe the team concept. So I'm successful as an agent, there's a team for me. So what's a good piece of advice you could share?
I think one of the biggest pros of being on a team is even more like individualized support and having that mentorship from your team leader, who's usually very experienced.
Yeah.
It's been in the industry for a long time, like Barb is. So I think that's the biggest pro is, just being able to absorb so much knowledge and experience from them. I think, one thing when you are on a team, you are held more accountable.
Yes.
There are more expectations on you. So obviously you're very entrepreneurial, as an agent, but, you can't really only just do what you want to do too. So I think if you want to be on a team, just know that there's going to be most likely more accountability.
Okay.
But I think all in all, though, it's such a positive, move to make, especially if you want to, progress through your career a lot quicker.
Right.
I think, being on a team, you can leverage that so much more.
All right. So, Barb, this one's, I guess, more towards you. So, obviously, here at podcast, where, video is an interesting piece of marketing in our industry, especially with social media and stuff. So, this is not the first time you've been on video / TV. Should we say?
I have.
So you're a star, right? There we go. From what I understand.
Take it easy. I'm not a star.
So
it's very scary doing
So I've heard you've been on TV before. Could you share with our audience?
Sure. So I guess it was about 5 years ago.
At least, yeah.
At least
like
5.
2019,
Maybe 2019.
Before COVID.
Yeah, I was approached by actually a friend of Peggy's who worked for HGTV. And he asked me if I'd be interested in doing a program called Island Life.
Okay.
I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I was super uncomfortable, but I felt like I had to try.
Yeah.
Like, why not? So I did an episode that year. It was actually a friend of mine who was looking, she was moving from Manhattan to Long Beach, and she agreed to do it with me, and it was a lot of fun. Very nerve-wracking, very hot.
Summertime.
Yeah, it was the middle of the summer. But it was a really cool experience. So I did that, and then I believe the next year I did another one with a couple of my friends as well that bought a beautiful house in Long Beach. And it was great.
Yeah, that was the same HGTV program?
Yes, it's called HGTV Island Life.
Island Life.
Yeah.
So it was funny. I think you were telling me a little bit about how they still rerun, right? Even though they were live.
This is Island Life.
We're cruising along on Reynolds Channel. So what do you think of this? This is absolutely great. I thought you were bringing me out here to talk to me about buying a new home, not a new boat. Well, we'll take you boat shopping another time.
All right, I got to remember to get your autograph before we leave here today, okay, officially?
Oh, God.
All right, so is there any TV in Katy or Peggy's future? Come on.
Oh, gosh. I don't know. Doing this podcast is my first event of really being on video, so maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, trust me, I asked Peggy.
I know you did. No. Were you in like a clip of it?
Yes, I had a little cameo. I was doing yoga on the beach.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, I want to start to pivot. Before I do, I just want to remind our audience, if you like what you're hearing here today, we'd love to have you like and subscribe to our show. We like to play hard, and especially with a playground like Long Beach. What does the Barbara Mullaney team do? Besides drink wine, by the way, which we picked up on, which I'm not a hater. I'm not a hater on that, by the way. I like that. What does the Barbara Mullaney team do for fun?
We love to go on vacation together as a family, and we're really lucky that we are able to do that. There's 6 of us, and 7th with Katy's little boy Liam, and an 8th on the way.
There you go. The growing family.
Yeah, so, we try to take advantage of the downtime that we all have together.
No, absolutely. And I think it's funny because we obviously work together, but we still love hanging out with each other after work. We're just always in contact.
We never get sick of each other.
We're always together. Which is so nice because I think, when you first start out, you don't really know how it's going to go necessarily.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking in the beginning. I was like, oh my gosh, hope it doesn't ruin our relationship.
We'll be okay.
Too much togetherness is.
Yeah.
But so far so good.
But so far so good. It's been great.
Giving back is a big part of our culture, and we love to share that. So you guys, well, first of all, the Barbara Mullaney team was honored in 2018 as the humanitarian of the year. So when you win that out of 1,200 agents, it's a real honor and testament to the devotion and commitment to give back. So first of all, congratulations for that and setting that tone. But I love what you're doing for the food pantry. Now, could you share with our audience some of the other charities and organizations you guys are passionate about?
So so every year we like to plan out our events for the year. So, and this really all stems from Barb and also our love for our community and, just having that culture of giving back as well. So, we like to do the fundraiser for the Long Beach High School, help the schools and the families. And then we also like to do a bike-a-thon in the summer where we just bike the boardwalk and we raise
26 miles.
26 miles. So we do that for the Long Beach Soup Kitchen.
Okay.
Which they do great work for our community.
Yeah.
So we do that. And then, just individually, Barbara and the team, we'll participate in ads and different fundraising opportunities where we'll give back to other, local foundations.
Like we have the Long Beach Christmas Angel gives back to local families and individuals that are in need. Also, the Michael Diamond Foundation, which is a near and dear charity for us. And there's numerous ones that
What's the Michael Diamond contribute to? What is for? Just for our audience.
Yeah, so Michael Diamond was a dear friend of ours and a big part of the community of Long Beach. But after he passed away, they wanted to do something to keep his memory alive, obviously, and to do good. So they have a yearly golf outing. Okay. And we usually sponsor the is it $1 Million Hole? Something. The hole in one or something like that. Yeah. Which is a lot of fun. But again, they give back to
give scholarships out.
And they also donate to tons of charities.
Suicide awareness as well for Long Island.
They've turned into a huge charitable organization, and we love being a part of it.
Yeah. No surprise. So if someone's listening wants to get involved with any of the charities you support, how can they help?
They can follow our page, so to get any updates if we're having any events.
Give them the page where they can find.
On Instagram mainly, it's just at the Barbara Mullaney team. And you can DM us, you can reach out to us individually, and we can relay some of the information.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. I want to remind our audience again, please, if you like the episode, please like and subscribe. We'd love to have you as a member of our podcast. So,
it's time for the Drop the Mic question.
Your husband Patrick is a Nassau County legislator. If you were in public office, what would your first executive order be?
Well, actually, I was just away in Paris. Okay. And part of the charm is that certain blocks were banned. It was only for pedestrians. They were blocked off. So I think it would be a really cool idea, possibly in the West End, to close down Beach Street, maybe on the weekends.
Okay.
So this way, people could walk and go to restaurants and shop and
Mardi Gras type of thing going on.
Yeah, and not have to worry about traffic.
Yeah,
I think it would be a really cool vibe.
I would definitely allow dogs on the beach.
Dogs on the beach.
Yes, year round.
So they're not allowed on the beach. Only in the winter, or not at all?
No, not at all. I live in the West End, so the beach is my backyard, so I know my dog would love it.
So Peggy, come on, bring it home here. What's the executive order?
Pat's going to kill us, by the way.
That's yeah. I hope so. That means he watched it. Because if he doesn't watch this, then he's in a different type of trouble.
I would love to see more restaurants like on our boardwalk, on the beaches.
Yeah.
Because people honestly assume, like, when you go down to Long Beach, you're going to get a lot of that. You're going to be able to see the beach, the ocean. Yeah. And we really don't have any of that.
And also, too, we have so much bayfront.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it's industrial. Mm-hmm. That you can make a gorgeous pier, a boardwalk along there.
All right, I'm gonna have to hook you up with Tony. I think we have a project in the works here. So I like that idea too. So no, those are all three great answers, and I want to tell each of you thank you so much for being here today. I think our audience will find out why you guys are one of the top teams out here in the industry. So again, from my own testimony, these guys do a great job. So if someone wants to do business or reach out to the Barbara Mullaney team, how do they get you?
Yeah, follow us on Instagram at the Barbara Mullaney team. You can DM us or call us, and we'd be happy to chat.
Any phone numbers?
516-582-6096.
Okay, and what's your website?
TheBarbaraMullaneyTeam.com.
There you go.
Simple.
There you go. There we go.
Easy.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. All right.
It was
All
a
right.
pleasure.
Thank you,
Thanks so
Mike.
much, Mike.
All right.